Welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most confusing and painful experiences in a toxic dynamic, the moment a narcissist turns cold, or even angry, when they see you genuinely happy. You might have shared a success, a beautiful moment, or simply felt a moment of pure, unburdened joy, only to have their reaction flatten your spirit instantly. It defies all logic. Shouldn't they be happy for you, or at least indifferent? Why does your light feel like a direct threat to their entire existence? We are going to expose the raw psychological engine that makes your genuine smile their ultimate nightmare. This goes beyond simple jealousy. It's about a profound, life-altering fear of your self-sufficiency, and it's the ultimate reveal we need to discuss. For the narcissist, the world is fundamentally transactional, a zero-sum game where energy is constantly being extracted and consumed. They view your emotions not as internal experiences, but as a limited resource pool, and they believe they hold the key to the faucet. Your sadness, your stress, and your need for their validation are all currencies that keep you trapped and keep them powerful. When you are suffering, they are in control. They are the rescuer, the healer, the source of light in your darkness, ensuring their perceived indispensable value in your life. Your joy, however, represents a catastrophic glitch in their carefully managed system. When you smile authentically, when that deep, unforced happiness radiates from your core, you are announcing to the universe that you have found a reliable, internal source of light. This light does not come from them. It cannot be controlled by them. And worst of all, it demonstrates that you possess a self-regulating mechanism they fundamentally lack. This realization hits them with the speed and force of a psychological missile, causing instant panic. The contrast is what truly torments them. They are forced to live in a state of perpetual emotional performance, constantly hunting for external supply to fill an inner void that never closes. Their happiness is a brittle, temporary construct, built on the shifting sand of external praise and validation. When they see your joy, a solid, unshakable structure, built from genuine self-regard, it forces a mirror up to their own fragile, hollow reality, creating instant, unbearable shame. You must understand the silent rule in their toxic dynamic. You are not allowed to be happier than they are. In fact, you are not allowed to be truly happy at all. Your emotional baseline must always be slightly lower than theirs, or at least visibly dependent on their presence and approval. Your spontaneous laughter or your calm contentment is a transgression, a psychological act of rebellion that violates the very foundation of the power imbalance they depend upon for their internal stability. This phenomenon is often misinterpreted as simple envy, but it is far more corrosive. Envy is wanting what another person has. The narcissist reaction is a terrifying primal need to annihilate the source of what the other person has. They don't just want your joy. They want to prove that your joy is illegitimate, fleeting, or dependent on their permission, thereby restoring the illusion of their emotional superiority and control over your spirit. Think back to the times you shared good news only to have it immediately minimized, criticized, or deflected. That wasn't a clumsy social error. It was a deliberate, calculated attempt to extinguish your light. The goal is to make you question your own experience, to teach you that the next time you feel joy, you should keep it hidden, or better yet, seek their validation first, thereby placing their approval back at the very center of your emotional universe. When their attempts at dampening your mood fail, the narcissist shifts from minimizing to pathologizing. They may accuse you of being manic, fake, or too much. This is a desperate tactic to frame your emotional health as a problem that needs fixing, a problem only they can diagnose and manage. By making your happiness a sickness, they create a role for themselves as the only one capable of restoring you to a manageable, less threatening state of quiet dependence. The genuine smile is a symbol of self-love, and self-love is the ultimate antithesis of the narcissist's core need. If you love yourself enough to generate your own joy, you do not need their approval, you do not need their validation, and you certainly do not need their presence. Your joy declares your self-sufficiency, and self-sufficiency is the psychological equivalent of a declaration of war against the narcissist's control mechanism. It is in this moment, this unadulterated, unscripted display of personal sunshine, that the narcissist's core worldview is directly challenged. They cannot control the source of your glow, which means they cannot control you. This is why the authentic smile is not just an expression, it is a declaration of emotional independence, a powerful, quiet victory they cannot stand to witness. To grasp the narcissist's panic, we must delve into their deepest, most closely guarded secret, the overwhelming, unbearable shame that sits beneath the gilded, grandiose mask. The mask is built on the premise of perfection and superiority. Shame, however, is the terrifying feeling of being defective and worthless. Your authentic joy acts like a powerful solvent, dissolving the fragile paint of the mask and revealing the wounded, insecure core they have spent a lifetime attempting to bury. The sight of your natural happiness triggers a painful process of upward social comparison that they cannot win. In their zero-sum view, if you are truly happy, they must, by necessity, be unhappy, or at least inadequate. This comparison is lethal to their self-concept, because your joy isn't feigned or performative. It's effortlessly real, highlighting the tremendous, exhausting effort they must constantly expend just to simulate contentment for an external audience. Your smile is the ultimate proof that you are detached from their drama, that you have successfully achieved escape velocity from their orbit. For the narcissist, the primary currency of validation is emotional reactivity. They thrive on your tears, your anger, and your despair, because these show you are still engaged. When you smile, you are demonstrating detachment, and that silent, unshakable indifference is psychologically experienced as complete annihilation. The narcissist operates under a delusion of false omnipotence, believing they hold ultimate, almost godlike power over their environment and the people in it. Your genuine joy immediately and forcefully contradicts this foundational belief. If you can be happy without their input, without their energy, and without their permission, then their supposed power is revealed as utterly fictitious, collapsing the core fantasy that sustains their false self. Furthermore, your happiness represents the successful mourning of the relationship. When you are truly joyous, it signals that you have processed the grief, accepted the loss, and moved on into a life that is fundamentally better without them. For the narcissist, this is an unacceptable finality. They need to believe you are still pining for them, still traumatized, or still feeling the profound loss of their presence. Anything to maintain the flattering delusion of their supreme importance. The mind of the narcissist is a rigid, control-based system, relying on predictable inputs and outputs. Your joy is an unpredictable variable, an emotional wildcard, and the inability to predict or manipulate its source sends them into a state of dysregulation. This internal chaos, where their usual emotional levers fail to produce the desired effect, is experienced as an existential threat, often resulting in a sudden, volcanic burst of unprovoked rage. This psychological breakdown is rooted in their developmental failure to integrate their good and bad selves, a concept known as splitting, because they cannot tolerate the coexistence of good and bad within themselves. They need you to carry all the bad, the fear, the shame, the frustration. Your smile shows you are no longer willing to carry their negative projections, forcing them to briefly re-internalize the darkness they fled from, leading to acute mental distress. Their defense mechanism instantly launches a destructive campaign known as cognitive distortion. They must immediately distort the reality of your happiness to protect their ego. Your genuine smile is mentally translated into, "You are mocking me," "You are celebrating my downfall," or "You are plotting against me." This paranoid reframing allows them to justify their impending cruel reaction, transforming your peace into a weapon of war that must be instantly neutralized. They will look for any external flaw, a mistake, a perceived failure, or a sign of vulnerability, to undermine the foundation of your joy. The desperate need is to prove that your happiness is a lie, a temporary facade that their superior reality can easily expose and shatter. If they can find the crack in your emotional armor, they can re-establish control by reminding you that your internal world is still subject to their external judgment and manipulation. This constant, frantic effort to dismantle your peace is exhausting, leaving them perpetually agitated and internally bruised by the reflection of their own deficiency. The dramatic turning point arrives when the narcissist realizes their standard tools of emotional destruction are utterly useless against your joy. They have tried the backhanded compliment, the subtle sabotage, and the aggressive shift in conversation, and yet, the smile remains. This is the moment of definitive power loss, when their mind registers that your happiness is non-negotiable and sourced beyond their reach, an irreversible, psychological checkmate. When this realization sinks in, their strategy shifts from subtle minimization to overt, irrational attack. The energy moves from a cold, calculated disapproval to a hot, desperate, and clumsy rage, a sign of the complete failure of their emotional regulation. This rage is not directed at a specific mistake you made. It is pure existential fury directed at the fact that you dare to exist autonomously, free from their emotional dictates. This abrupt theatrical anger is often aimed at creating a public spectacle specifically designed to shock you out of your peaceful state. By initiating a crisis, a loud argument, or an inappropriate confrontation, they attempt to force you to return to the familiar emotional script. The script where you are stressed, defensive, or crying, thus temporarily ending the uncomfortable experience of witnessing your happiness. Chaos is their comfort zone. The loss of control during this turning point can also manifest as immediate frantic devaluation of you to an external audience. They must immediately rewrite the narrative for others, convincing them that your happiness is a sign of instability, immaturity, or recent selfish behavior. This desperate smear campaign is a preemptive strike, an effort to control the witnesses of your joy before your authentic light can expose their own darkness. Ironically, this moment of panic is the clearest evidence of your victory. The mask, which requires immense energy to maintain, momentarily slips, allowing you a terrifying but validating glimpse of the true, frightened self they hide. The uncontrolled flicker of fear in their eyes, the sudden lack of composure, and the exaggerated malice are all physical symptoms of a profound narcissistic injury inflicted by your simple contentment. They may attempt an immediate hoover based on false vulnerability, suddenly shifting from rage to desperate pleading. This tactic is a last-ditch effort to reconnect, promising change or admitting an unrelated minor fault. Anything to pull you back into the cycle where your happiness can once again be regulated and controlled by their emotional drama. The goal is to make you feel sorry for them, turning your joy into guilt. This frantic behavioral change is a psychological sign that they have run out of internal resources. They are forced to burn through their remaining emotional fuel just to maintain the appearance of normalcy. And your persistent joy acts like an intense emotional heat lamp, accelerating the process. The exhaustion from maintaining the performance starts to become visible, making them appear agitated, jumpy, or visibly strained to anyone paying close attention. Crucially, they realize that your smile has created an unbridgeable distance. You are operating on a frequency of peace they cannot tune into, a silence they cannot penetrate, and a depth of contentment they cannot reach. This psychological gap is what separates you from them, and this realization drives them to increasing levels of desperation, making their behaviors more erratic, impulsive, and less strategically manipulative than before. The ultimate power of your smile during this turning point is that it is non-verbal, non-confrontational, and thus cannot be argued with. They can argue against your words, your logic, or your anger, but they cannot argue against the quiet, undeniable radiance of your joy. It is an unassailable truth that exists outside the arena of their manipulation, and that inability to find a foothold is what pushes them into a state of profound, impotent rage. This desperate failure of their control mechanisms sets the stage for the inevitable collapse of their internal and external world. The immediate consequence of their failed attack on your joy is a rapid deepening of their internal isolation. They are surrounded by people, but they feel profoundly, existentially alone, because the very mechanism that sustained their connection, the manipulation of your emotions, has been permanently neutralized. They are now forced to sit with the emptiness that your genuine happiness exposed, an emptiness they cannot fill with fleeting external praise. Socially, the consequences begin to stack up as people witness the disparity. The narcissist's violent, irrational reaction to your simple smile becomes a public data point that contradicts their polished victim narrative. Friends, family, and colleagues may begin to notice the pattern. One person radiates peace and light, while the other descends into an inexplicable, aggressive frenzy. This external realization slowly erodes their credibility and social power. Your persistent happiness serves as a constant, quiet form of non-contact accountability. Every time they see you thriving, every time your success is shared, it is a non-verbal affirmation that they were the problem, and that their toxicity was the only obstacle to your flourishing. This realization drives a relentless, self-flagellating spiral of shame that they immediately project outward, making them even more bitter and difficult to be around. The frantic hunt for a replacement source of supply accelerates, but the quality of that supply inevitably deteriorates. They seek instant gratification, demanding high-octane distraction to medicate the wound left by your authentic joy. This quick turnover and increasingly desperate emotional consumption makes their new relationship shallower, shorter, and less fulfilling, further compounding their sense of being an unlovable imposter. The emotional flatlining soon sets in. The intense energy of the rage and the hoover burns out, replaced by a heavy, profound fatigue. This is the psychological toll of fighting a reality they cannot defeat. The weariness of a perpetual actor who is finally forced to lower the curtain on their most elaborate and destructive performance. They become emotionally sterile, incapable of accessing genuine feeling, and trapped in a monotonous cycle of self-pity and paranoid resentment. As their control diminishes, their internal dialogue becomes a relentless cycle of self-hatred, immediately disguised as extreme external blame. They cannot process the shame of failure, so the entire world is blamed for their misfortune, including the universe itself, for daring to bestow joy upon you instead of them. This irrational paranoia isolates them further, pushing away even the most well-meaning people who try to offer superficial support. They begin to recognize, in rare, cold moments of clarity, the immense opportunity cost of their pathology, the genuine connections, the deep loyalty, and the emotional intimacy you offered, all destroyed by their need for control. This sudden, brief clarity is terrifying, because it means they must acknowledge the possibility that their life is built on a foundation of lies, a thought they immediately flee from back into the safety of their grandiosity. The collapse of the narrative is one of the most severe consequences. They lose the ability to tell the story of the relationship with themselves. As the hero or the victim, your thriving, joyful life becomes the ultimate, undeniable proof that the narrative they maintained was false, painting them not as a partner, but as a toxic obstacle that had to be overcome for you to achieve peace. They lose control over their own public history. As their world crumbles, the only thing that makes them feel better is thinking up ways to get back at you. They dream up elaborate, dark fantasies of your life falling apart, obsessed with your downfall. This revenge idea is the only thing that distracts them from the deep, ugly shame they feel inside. It's their final, desperate way to feel powerful again, even if it's only in the false safety of their own imagination. The crushing final truth is that the narcissist is the one who is truly trapped. They are stuck in a prison they built themselves, forced to live a lie and search forever for a lasting happiness they can't create or earn. But we're leaving that darkness now. It's time to turn our focus back to you, the survivor, and the bright, powerful light of your own freedom. What is the magnificent final truth that separates your bright future from their inevitable self-imposed prison? For you, the ultimate sign that you've won isn't watching them fail or suffer. It's realizing that their drama and agony simply do not matter to you anymore. Your peace is real, your joy is strong, and your path ahead doesn't depend on them in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that counts is the calm, steady life you have built since they left, a powerful shield against any darkness they try to send your way. The greatest healing truth you need to know is simple. The narcissist's meltdown is all about them. It has absolutely nothing to do with who you are or what you did. Their broken reality is just the natural, painful result of a lifetime of running from the truth and avoiding any real responsibility. Your smile didn't break them. It just pulled away the last support, holding up a shaky structure that was always meant to fall down. Now, truly feel the immense relief of dropping a huge, heavy emotional weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. Think about the endless energy you wasted trying to fix the unfixable, the stress you endured trying to make sense of their nonsense. All that is finally gone. You realize you were trying to keep afloat someone who was perfectly fine with drowning you instead. That deep sense of relief is your sweet, simple reward. Your whole focus is now moving from just surviving their chaos to creating your dream life, your masterpiece. Every healthy choice you make, every strong boundary you set, and every moment of joy you grab is a quiet but strong message that they utterly failed. You are living a life based on truth and inner strength, and that self-generated happiness is the ultimate, unassailable victory they can never touch. The most satisfying part of your win isn't their visible downfall, it's your continued, complete, and unshakable inner peace. When they try to pull you back with drama, lies, or desperate pleas, your refusal to answer is the loudest thing you can ever say. It communicates with total certainty that they aren't even worthy of your time or anger. Their desperate cries for attention just dissolve into meaningless background noise. This is the victory that lasts forever. They cannot ruin the deep peace, the self-respect, and the genuine love you found after they were gone. The hurt they caused is now a set of scars that prove your strength, not your weakness. They are proof of a terrible lesson learned, mastered, and conquered. Your private win is a permanent reality they can never twist or deny. See the profound gift this painful journey gave you. It taught you exactly where and how to draw the line. You now have a powerful, built-in shield against bad behavior. Your emotional radar is perfectly tuned to spot manipulation instantly. This hard-won wisdom is a priceless asset for the rest of your life, a direct result of the emotional storm you walked through and decisively ended. Look at the powerful difference. They are running around frantically, looking for someone new to prop them up, always needing a mirror to feel real. But you pull your strength from deep inside yourself, from your own self-respect. This difference shows the huge uncrossable gap between being genuinely free and being trapped by your own need for control. Accept the final, simple truth. The freedom you claimed is absolute and non-negotiable. The invisible pain the narcissist feels is entirely the result of their own choices, and it can never reach you. Your escape is final, sealed by the solid barrier of your no-contact rule and the sheer brilliant light of your authentic happiness. You made it through the chaos. You found your way out of their dark world, and you came out whole, strong, and completely free. The narcissist's collapse is just the fading echo of a toxic past, but your healing is a magnificent, ongoing revolution. Never forget, they were desperately searching for a reflection of their power, but what they finally found was the undeniable, brilliant reflection of your peace.